Hi, I'm Chris Stirewalt, and this is Power Play. Yay! Hi, Internet. Okay, so here's the thing. Almost everyone in America is running for the Republican well, almost everyone except for now Bobby Jindal, sorry, is running for the Republican nomination for president. But of all of those, through the cast of thousands, there are 4 right now who seem to be in contention. That includes the outside outsiders, Ben Carson and Donald Trump, but it also includes 2 44-year-old Cuban-American United States senators. They're freshmen. They're dads of young families, but they're very different people. Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz are shaping up to be perhaps the 2 candidates best suited to go the distance. And they are fighting already. How will that fighting affect them and their chances? How will it affect the broader nomination? And who can win in the battle of Cruz v. Rubio? Who could we ask? Well, let's see. What if we asked Daniel Halper? He is the online editor for the Weekly Standard. He knows things. And Brendan Bordelon. Bordelon?
Got it.
Bordelon, nice. He is an online political reporter for the Weekly Standard's arch nemesis, the National Review. Do you guys have to do did you have to do any chest bumping or any fighting in the green room or anything?
Stabbed him under the table before this started, so he might bleed out.
What it takes. Halper knows. He knows what it takes.
I don't even know who he writes for. I've never heard of him. But
it's
nice to meet you.
That's the Trump. He just trumped you. He just Donald you. Very low energy. All right, so Halper, starting with you. Cruz and Rubio might not have been anybody's pick, or very few people's pick, a year ago about how things would shape up. It was going to be Scott Walker, and then it was going to be Jeb Bush, and it was going to be all this stuff. So these 2 senators, is this really plausible that these 2 guys can go the distance, or will they knock each other out in the short term with this fighting?
Well, I think it's turning into an early test. I think nobody would have guessed even a week or 2 ago that this would have turned into a real war in the last few days, where you have Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio really going at each other in terms of immigration. I think each has something to gain. Cruz obviously wants to pick on Marco Rubio's weakness, immigration, and term him sort of a squish, not necessarily liberal, but certainly not conservative. Rubio's goal is to deal with his vulnerability early and also to muddle the water. So there isn't much difference he wants to paint between he and Cruz, and therefore you can support either one if you're an ardent conservative. I think there are advantages. I think each one will last this one. I don't think this is a knockout, drag-out fight. I think each one will come out stronger to their own constituency. I think as Rubio is impressing a lot of the donors and establishment class, they want to see that he can fight. So he's been sort of getting in with Trump.
But that's the thing. So Rubio has an advantage. He hasn't fought much. He's fought back against Trump a little bit, but that is, if you're living in the sulfuric sea of the 2006 presidential cycle, you got to do a little of that. But even his fighting with Jeb Bush, one-time front runner, has been more about, you don't need to do this, bro. Like, you can stop doing this. How does it affect Rubio to go from a guy who is a second choice for a lot of candidates to get into actual fisticuffs head-to-head with Cruz?
Yeah, I mean, we call this a fight, but really it's less of Rubio going on the attack than just him trying to defend himself against his own immigration.
Now, wait a minute. He lit Cruz up. He lit Cruz up on the question of foreign policy.
No, that's true. Yeah. So it's on immigration. It's Rubio saying, hey, well, he thought the same way that I'm thinking now, right? But yeah, you're right on foreign policy. And I think the Paris attacks have given not just Rubio, but all of the candidates that have been hawks on things like the NSA data collection, on domestic surveillance, have given them actually an advantage moving forward, especially if this security situation in Europe keeps going, and especially if something ends up happening here, whether it's actually an attack or even just cells broken up or that kind of thing. I think you're going to see the NSA, which really wasn't that big of a deal, right, in 2013, even going into last year as ISIS started to rise. If that becomes a big issue, then that's going to be something that not just Rubio is going to hit people like Ted Cruz, Rand Paul on, but a lot of the candidates, Jeb Bush,
So the establishment lane has seen the most dropouts and the most diminishment of support. We've had the most flaming out on the establishment lane. That's helped Rubio. He's now in second place in a bunch of states. Cruz's numbers have been less dynamic, but he's shown a steady rise. Who do you think is positioned right now better for the long haul?
Well, the crazy thing is, right, if Cruz were able to knock out Rubio next week, even gaining his support wouldn't be enough to put him in second place or first place. He'd still be in third place. So, I think Cruz has an infrastructure to last longer. I think Rubio has the money and
has building it. Yeah.
He's building a money, and sort of his trajectory is better placed than Cruz's. But that's all recent, and that we really have to see in like a couple weeks or a couple months how that actually pans out. Because
Brendan, what do you think?
Well, I think Cruz is actually doing a smart thing right now on the whole immigration issue.
But in terms of structure, not just campaign structure, but the shape of the race, who do you think is better positioned long haul?
I think Rubio still probably, I mean, just in terms of his broader electoral appeal, I think when Republicans in the establishment, when they look and they see who's going to be able to go up against Hillary Clinton in the general election, I think Rubio's probably going to come out ahead on that, in part because of his positions on immigration. He has to actually survive the Republican primary on that issue, and I think that if he's able to say, look, candidates like Cruz, other candidates have supported the same issue in the past, and now they're just pandering to you, that might work better for him.
The answer is the next 6 weeks will prove absolutely defining for Marco Rubio. He gets through the next 6 weeks in fine fettle. He'll be tough to beat for the Republican nomination, and Ted Cruz probably knows it, so it's probably a good time to throw some jack rocks in front of his convoy. Gentlemen, we thank you for bringing your convoy of excellence to us. And you, Internet, keep your convoy rolling, and we hope you will come back for more Power Play real soon.